What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Vikings Brawl. My name's Tyler Carmer, and I'm your host, and I got my cousin, my co-host, and fellow Vikings fan with me here. Both of our Twitters are Carmer's NFL. I changed it, everyone. It was Carmer Skull, and I changed it to Carmer NFL because I'm kind of tweeting draft stuff for everyone to see. And Austin's Twitter is at Winders20. The podcast Twitter is at Vikings Brawl. And we're going to go over a lot of draft stuff today. Not draft stuff, free agency stuff. Before we get into all that, I want to let all you guys know at the end of this episode, when Austin and I are done talking, I got an interview with Jordan Reed, and we kind of went over some of the early free agency stuff and how it affects the Vikings, the rest of the league, and kind of how that sets us up to draft. And the recording was before a lot of, some of the big stuff happened. So you'll get to kind of hear some of the predictions we made. If we were right or wrong, and then there's just some fun little tidbits about questions I asked Jordan. So look forward to that at the end of this episode after we dive in now to free agency. So
really
are there any surprises here, like for the Vikings at least? What's the number one surprise so far?
I think the number one was probably the Stephon Diggs trade, I would say, in my opinion. I don't think any of us necessarily saw it coming right now. I think we might have seen it coming at some point, just kind of with the way that he's presented himself to the league and how he's presented himself specifically on Twitter.
Troll, yeah.
He likes to be the center of attention on Twitter and show that he really doesn't like it in Minnesota. I'm not too upset about it, to be honest. We got a big haul out of it, and for somebody that doesn't want to be in purple and yellow, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and what we got back for Diggs is, that made me feel a little bit better, especially since that DeAndre Hopkins trade went down. And I mean, thankful that my team's head coach is not also the GM, because that's what happens. Got that extra first, a fifth, a sixth, gave a seventh, which was like one of the last compensatory picks we had, like 239, I think. And then we got a fourth for next year. Like that is a haul. And you know what? He didn't want to be here. He was causing drama in the locker room from time to time, tension with the team. It is what it is. I'll take it and move on.
And in reality, I mean, when you look at it, when it comes to historically through the NFL, teams that give away a mass load for one individual player don't come out on top. It's different in the NBA than like the NFL, where in the NBA, one player can make a big difference because you only have 5 starters. Well, there's 22 starters on offense and defense. One guy isn't going to make as big of a difference. Obviously, certain positions more than others. But when you are in the year of possibly the best wide receiver class in NFL history,
could be the deepest.
Yeah. Good way to put it. With that being said, we have a first round. I mean, I think we have 5 picks in nearly the top 100 picks.
Top 105.
Top 105. That's pretty crazy. So,
there's
plenty of room to be able to get one of those wide receivers.
Oh yeah, we have 22, 25, 58, 89, and 105. That's having 5 picks in that top 105 is big this year. And
it's crazy.
It really, there's been so many different signings already of positions that we thought teams were going to go with that could change the whole draft. Like, I thought CeeDee Lamb would go number 8 to the Cardinals, but they have Hopkins now. So now they probably draft Tristan Wirfs or something like that.
But he could still go there.
Yeah, he could.
I saw some talking about that, and they were talking about what if they're kind of trying to emulate the Kansas City Chiefs and do the whole offensive weapon thing, which the Vikings decided to do the exact opposite so far. So
yeah, I'm frustrated with this offseason.
I am too, man. And I don't know. It's hard to say because we're just not at the end point. I think there's a lot that's going on.
There's not even anything good to build on so far.
You're right. Besides clearing house and trying to just start over, but
it seems like
there's just no clear
season.
plan. No, I feel you. And I mean, today, they cut Josh Klein, and I know you saw that, which saves us a whopping $1.5 million in cap space.
We end up eating more money than it saved us. It's like,
exactly. And in all honesty, he was probably the best player for that position at the moment. Drew Samia is coming along, but I don't know if he's ready to start on an offensive line. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but just cutting Josh Klein for the minimal amount of money that it was, just because he wasn't willing to restructure or take a pay cut at all is just kind of confusing to me.
Me too. And the fact that they approached him to do that, to reconstruct his contract, and the numbers couldn't work. Like, he was already not making that much. So I don't really know what their plan is, because I can't even predict one at this point. They signed Michael Pierce, which is a good signing, but they signed their last need first. Like, they need a corner, they need a receiver, they need that, and then they signed a D tackle, which he's a good one. I'm happy he's on the team. But
and it's weird because we almost seem like we're in a position now that we have more needs than we had before. Like you just said with wide receiver, we needed a wide receiver, and now we need another wide receiver. And it's just, like I said, I just don't know what their plan is. We lost out on Mac Alexander. We needed a cornerback.
And he was only signed for $4 million.
We lost another cornerback. I understand that in all reality, it seems very likely that the Vikings are going to draft a corner at some point in those, hopefully in the first couple rounds, day one or day two, at least.
I'd guess first round.
Me too. I would hope that they would go defense first. With the Stephon Diggs trade, I don't know anymore. And with the Josh Klein cut, I'm not 100% sure either. It seems like one of those positions, it's going to be guard, wide receiver, cornerback, or our three needs. Mac Alexander didn't want to play nickel, didn't want to play slot. Maybe that was going to be the role that he was going to be shoved into with a drafting of a younger corner that would be plug and play with next to Mike Hughes. But
I think that's what he's going to play in Cincinnati too, though.
You think so? Okay.
Well, they have William Jackson and Trey Waynes on the outside. Yeah. Mac will have to be the nickel. Because Trey's hips are way too stiff.
Which is surprising because that's what he's been complaining about his whole time in Minnesota, is he wanted to be able to be a starting wide receiver starting cornerback. I don't know.
I was on Twitter tweeting out some videos and clips of a corner that I liked that was hypothetically at the time if they were to not re-sign Mac. I was like, this is a guy they could look at. He's, one of my guys a draft crush, if you will. And this today, which is Thursday, is recording this right now, is that the Bengals signed Mac for $4 million, and they gave that much money to their fullback. So obviously their priority was not getting a nickel cornerback this year on the free agent market. It doesn't seem. And the guy that I think they should look at is Amik Robertson, DB from LA Tech. If you watch 2 minutes worth of film, you think Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger at LSU. He's 5'9", but he's 190, just a built dude. And he hits, he decleats people when he hits.
Wants to win.
And he's got the swagger, he's like a Jairi Alexander. Just a dude that's, as soon as he gets up, he's in your face and kind of sets the tone, and that's something that they need on this defense.
Yeah, we do. We definitely need that chip on our shoulder. That's for sure.
And now, so they don't have Everson Griffin. I don't think he's coming back because I don't think they can afford him. He's going to make too much on the free agent market. Okay, then the person that I would maybe think would start, since he's not coming back, would be Stephen Weatherly. He's now a Panther. So now we're to Odenigbo, and is he ready to take over as a starter? I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And I mean, maybe we snag somebody in free agency here as we're closing out.
They're negative $1 million in cap space right now.
Right. Sorry about that.
I don't know what I'm so lost with this offseason, guys.
The only thing I could think of is if they still had a plan for Anthony Harris to be able to get rid of him at some point.
That's the other thing. He's $11 million right now towards the cap. They almost have to trade him. And my guess is it's just going to be a third round pick, which is cool. but now you have to replace probably your best DB in the whole defensive back unit last year. So
when we're already struggling at like in DBs in general. And I forgot to say this a little bit earlier, but we lost out on a significant amount of corners in free agency. Most of the major corners went today to other teams, so that's pretty much out of the picture.
There's one I was looking at that who I wanted them to sign for a few years in a row is Nicole Roby-Coleman.
Okay,
he got released. He's probably going to be that $3 to $4 million, and you could sign him on a 1-year deal and have him instantly be your nickel.
Which what's wrong with that? I'd
be thrilled. That's honestly,
that's kind of that fill in for Mac, because I don't really want to spend that much more anyways for that position at this moment if we don't have to. He's a very, very solid player. He's just one of those guys that goes out and gets the job done. Kind of reminds me of Terrence Newman in a sense, just continually just doing very, very solid work. Doesn't get beat too often, doesn't wow you by any means, but does what he needs to.
Yeah, and I was looking today, kind of hoping and praying that somehow the Vikings might try and use Anthony Harris's franchise tag and trade for Joe Thuney from the Patriots as your big time guard right there, but you're just done. He just signed his franchise tag today, so no Joe Thuney for the Vikings. And now I don't know what's going to happen with Harris. Cleveland signed Carl Joseph, so that was the main talks of a trade partner. Now
I was going to say, it's unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're recording wise, the situation that we're in, because we're recording at this really bad intermediate time where we just got rid of a lot of guys and haven't really seen any of the additions happen yet. So maybe we'll be happy with what they have in mind coming up here. And we're still missing a lot, like you said, but you just got to remember how many picks we have this year, and how good of a drafting team that we generally are. I feel like we can really get the job done, and we may not. And I'm kind of at the point where we may not be better than last year, talent wise.
Oh, absolutely not. We're not better.
But there are teams that don't have as much. But there are teams that don't have as much talent that still make it work better than teams that do have talent. Browns, for example.
That's where I think this team, knowing their draft past, could make it work this year. Because look how many we have 12 draft picks this year, I believe. We got 1, 2, 3 this year, and then we sent one. So we have
12 total.
We have 12, in 5 in the top 105. There's going to be new starters and young players everywhere that there's not film on. So they could catch people off guard if they do this draft right.
Yeah, and even if you look at our team last year, when you talk about talent wise and how good our team was, there were holes, just like there are going to be this year. But the Vikings scheme and their coaching does a really, really good job at making it so those guys aren't isolated. Those issues and holes tend to be helped out. We do a lot of help defense, and every once in a while you see it blow up in our face when you see a guy streaking downfield wide open and Harrison Smith running behind him trying to catch him because somebody blew their job or something like that. But that happens. Generally, we're a bend but don't break defense, and I think we can, like you said, we can do that, especially with just the talent that we have and the guys that we have on our team right now.
I will say Danielle Hunter and Michael Pierce that are a hell of a couple of young defensive linemen to build that new youth movement around.
Absolutely,
Michael Pierce.
That's going to be dangerous, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, in 2017, he had for PFF he graded 11th best nose tackle, and in 2018 he was the 5th best. He had a grade of 91.
That dude's a mauler.
This year he had a bit of a regression on a contract year. I don't know what happened. I haven't really watched a ton of film on him, but he's 6 foot, 340 pounds, and refers to himself as the Juggernaut. I'm excited. I'm excited to have him with Andre Patterson and on this defense.
Yeah, I'm all right with that too. And as we go, hopefully some of our draft crushes that we've been talking about on defense come true. I know you're talking about like Jeff Gladney. If he were to make it to us, I could totally see him fitting in there, especially if he said with Nicole Roby Coleman, if he were to slot, that would be a perfect starting three. I'd be okay with that. And after a weird season.
Oh yeah. And like you guys will get to hear Jordan Reed and I talk about Gladney later on in this episode. And he had a meniscus surgery on his knee. And so that could make him slip to that 22 or 25 range. And personally, I think no matter how the draft falls, if there's a good tackle or receiver, that if Gladney is there at 22, that Zimmer's gonna sprint. He's gonna sprint to the Skype or whatever, however they're drafting this year. But because Gladney, to me, if I could give you like a player comparison for him, it's Marcus Peters and Jair Alexander. It's the combination of the swagger, the stickiness, he is a unique player, but he's also like 200 pounds, so he's physical.
Right.
I think he would be the next, like when Rhodes closed. I
was just about to say next Xavier Rhodes.
He'll be the next Vikings corner. That I think, he could be something special, especially under Zimmer.
I like that style of football. I that was probably some of our favorite defensive times that we've had alive.
Oh yeah.
It's watching him lock people down. It was ridiculous, and I would be okay with the guy coming into the system that's like that, because I've said this in multiple episodes. I have a lot of confidence in our coaching. They really take those guys and breed them up.
I was watching film on Gladney today actually, and I was watching them play Iowa State, from last year, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was watching him like just completely shut down guys like Hakeem Butler and Alan Lazard, who
both in the NFL.
Lazard caught a bunch of passes from Aaron Rodgers this year, and he was just shutting him down. He could do nothing. Same with Butler. And yeah, they're both in the NFL and will have good careers, I think. And that was last year. This year he was even better. So I'm if he gets taken by the Eagles the pick before, I'm going to be salty because they need a corner too.
Well, see,
Rick could jump the Eagles again.
Yeah, I was going to say the Eagles did just make a big signing today, or
trade.
Thank you.
Yeah, big play Slay.
So that's huge for us, because that makes that need way less for them, and that's important. So. They do. Their offensive line isn't that bad, so they might need to go offensive line there as well. It kind of just seems like we're going to be
receiver if they don't go corner.
Yeah, that's probably their number one need. It kind of seems like we're going to be subject to the teams ahead of us. And just from history of Zimmer, I don't really see us trading up by any means, because of how much talent there is in the draft, that the Vikings are just going to be okay with getting whoever their guy is at that position.
See, with having 2 first-rounders, all these picks in the top 105, and then like going in like some kind of weird tank mode / extend your quarterback mode, like I don't know what they're going to do. They're releasing players. They have more holes than they did before, but they extended Cousins. Now, I don't know if they did that to remove his no trade clause and do something, or I have no idea. I'm lost. I don't know if they use 22 and 25 to move up, or if they pick with one of those picks and then collect even more picks, knowing Rick, he's a draft pick hoarder. So that's possible.
I don't know if they
I'm excited.
I guess I can't tell what the game plan is, and that's the cool thing, because I don't know if they're going in this for 1 year, if they're going in this for multiple years, because I have a totally different outlook on how the team's going to look next year, or how we wish it would look next year. And guys like Dalvin Cook are going to be question marks coming up in the future, and what are we going to do with that? Historically, it's not a good idea to pay running backs anymore.
No, it's not. Look at Todd Gurley.
With Kirk Cousins being re-signed, and with our cap space situation that it's at now, I mean, we would probably have to franchise tag him next year. And that means that we would either have to get rid of Anthony Harris or franchise tag him again, or whatever. There's a lot of short-term things that are happening that can't be for long-term, that I'm wondering what the Vikings plan is to go forward with then, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder if they're waiting to see how Dalvin plays this year, like if he gets hurt again.
Right.
They might make him play out a contract year and then franchise tag him, or if he gets hurt again, they might let him walk.
Just let him walk and stick with Madison.
Normally, people that rep the community and play well for the Vikings, they pay him. Look at Rudolph, people like that. And
yeah,
as much as I don't want to see it happen, because every running back that gets paid, the team is hindered because of it. Because if you don't have a quarterback, you can't win. And with taking talent away from Kirk Cousins, but still paying him, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah.
So
no. I don't know.
It's going to be a wild year.
My main thing with the running back situation is just we've been hit with it the past week. Really, you kind of see it happening. Melvin Gordon, no contract. Devontae Freeman, no contract. Todd Gurley released. That's saying a lot right there. And
I saw reports that Gordon's not getting near the offers he was getting before training camp last year from the Chargers.
Yeah.
So that holdout was pointless because all it did was pay.
He's going to make less money than he thought he was going to make. And he said that too. He was very frustrated with his decision and said that he thinks it's going to hinder him. So I wonder I wonder when the time comes what someone like Dalvin would do if he knows that his cap or if he knows that his value isn't as much as running backs think that their value is, or if he's one of those guys that thinks he should be paid top money.
If it were me in this situation, because they're perfectly set up for it. They're set up with 2 first-round picks to trade up and get your Tua, or you're not going to get Joe Burrow. You're not going to get the first pick. But Jordan Love, one of them, someone to sit this year, and then next year you release Kirk because the dead money is not terrible, and they have a lot more cap space next year. You get rid of Kirk, and then you're on a rookie QB contract for 5 years because of the 5th-year option, and then you can pay Dalvin to be the workhorse under a rookie quarterback. That'd be perfect to me.
Yeah, and I mean, otherwise we don't have another option at quarterback, and I assume that the Vikings won't re-sign Kirk Cousins again after this is all over. So unless we go at some point and find a huge free agent that the Vikings have planned out already or something, then going and drafting a quarterback this year is way more important than drafting a quarterback next year because of the draft pool is so much larger this year on quarterbacks.
Right.
At least maybe it's because of the whole inflationary thing with quarterbacks, and maybe next year we'll get to this point in the draft and we'll be talking about 5 quarterbacks as well. But at this point, there's 1 quarterback we're talking about next year, and there's 7 of them that we're talking about this year. So
there's 2 quarterbacks next year that got me 2 of them.
Who's the second one then?
Justin Fields.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's a good one. So. Yeah,
but this year it's Tua from realistic options for the Vikings to draft if they wanted to move up is Tua and Jordan Love, and then later on Jalen Hurts. But I think he needs a little more time.
I think somebody has a little bit mindset of how they want the offense to look here in the near future.
Man, you're absolutely right.
Well, when you're living in Kansas City, makes you want that.
They laid out the blueprint. I'm just trying to help them execute it.
We'll just see if we can get that at some point.
So just take an athletic left tackle. That's the first step there. Your quarterback that can make plays off script.
Yep.
Kirk cannot. Kirk doesn't even know how. And have some speed on the outside.
Which
they don't even really have. They don't have that at all right now. So either go out there and make a trade for Brandon Cooks because he's available. Give them one of your thirds or second.
That team obviously seems very willing to just give their guys away at the moment.
Or Taylor Gabriel's out there. He's a burner.
Quick, absolutely.
Yeah, and then there's a handful of receivers that are just speed this year. Not speed. There's receivers everywhere in this draft.
I was going to say, why don't we just go defense on our first pick and then wide receiver back-to-back? I'm okay with that.
I think in the first 5 or 6 picks, there's going to be 2 corners and 2 receivers, and then like a tackle and a defensive lineman sprinkled in there.
Right. And I keep thinking that maybe wide receivers are going to drop because of how many of them there are. And then I keep thinking back to the combine and seeing that one-handed catch by CeeDee Lamb and watching Henry Ruggs run his 40 and just seeing these guys beast even after we were already talking about them and seeing them continually just show us what they have. It's pretty exciting.
Now, I don't know exactly what pick the Raiders have. They have 2 in the first this year. I just thought of this now, or I would have looked this up. But I know they have a pick that's like between 15 and 18, I want to say. 15 and 19. No, I'm just saying if a player out there like Henry Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy is there, if the Vikings were to offer like 22 and 189, or something like that, your first and third just to move up 5 spots. I think like Jerry Jeudy has the route running abilities of Stephon Diggs. He's the only one in the draft, I think, that has that same ability.
Yeah,
so
except
if you want to
his
replace
physicals
Diggs,
are just as good, if not better.
Yeah, he's got the sky's the limit for him. He's got like Ocho Cinco feet. He's just quick as can be, and he's one receiver because at CeeDee Lamb, like I think he's going top 10.
Right.
Henry Ruggs, speed. Everyone always falls.
Who's number 2? Are we going with Jerry Jeudy as the number 2 wide receiver that's going to go?
No, I think Ruggs is.
You think Ruggs will go over? Okay.
Oh, he ran a 4.27.
Yeah, which speed's awesome, but I don't know. I feel like the
people fall in love with it.
People just you're right, and that might make somebody impulsive. Jeudy just has always had that wide, like you look at him and you're like, you're right, and maybe that's a good thing for us.
That's a great thing.
Maybe that's one of those guys you go and you snag, and it turns out he should have gone before the other guy.
Yeah, I don't. So now, honestly, if Ruggs or Jeudy drops, I'm all for trading one, like moving up a few spots because it just get in front of Philadelphia.
I like a lot of receivers in this draft. This is
going to be a fun training camp and draft because there's going to be. I think by the time this is all said and done, Rick's going to have like 15 picks somehow in this draft. So there's just going to be basically a whole squad of rookies to watch this year.
Right. And who knows with what we have going on in our world right now, as we move forward, if things are pushed back and camps are canceled and preseason activities are canceled, would we see a pressure for a team to want to go for more veteran-based players or players who are more currently ready rather than players who are more projects if they're looking to just the near future, because we may be having to just go right away. That's one thing I've been hearing kind of a lot around the league. Teams are trying to get a leg up on other teams. The Browns, for example, Case Keenum just got signed today. That's a huge thing.
That's great.
Coming into the offense that he used to be a part of. Now you have a whole new offense for a whole new team, and that team has to learn that offense. Well, your starting quarterback's Baker Mayfield. That kid doesn't know what's going on yet, and he might not have enough time to be able to learn that. So now you have Case Keenum who comes in and can go work out with him and teach him the offense. And that's something that you're kind of seeing a little bit around the league is the familiarity this year. Teams are kind of going. Yeah. Players are going with teams and connections. It's a big deal.
Look at Teddy Bridgewater.
You're right.
Into familiar, North
similar territory,
or is his son the one calling plays now in Carolina? I don't remember if Norv still is.
Sorry,
need to phone a friend.
We should probably know that. But no, he definitely has a couple of connections, and not to mention that team's kind of set up for Teddy. That's something we haven't. I'm surprised we haven't talked about that yet.
Teddy Bridgewater, 3 years, 63
How do we feel
mil.
about that? Yeah.
I'm happy for Teddy, man.
Me
Very
too,
happy
man.
for him.
I think it's a general consensus.
Ever since the day he stepped in, the first time I'd seen him, he still hasn't taken the smile off his face. So he's earned every bit of it. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that's a guy that I think Vikings fans will follow no matter where he's at.
Yeah, and he gets to step into a team where he's got Christian McCaffrey that he can dump it to whenever he needs to.
That's kind of what I mean. He's just in that perfect situation of a team that dinked and dunked all year last year and just made it happen. Now you have a guy who's really good at that. Mm-hmm. So,
and they traded for a good left tackle.
Right. Now I'm just wishing we would have signed him instead.
Yeah. Hello, darkness. My old friend.
My old friend.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
man.
I've been wishing that. Oh, we didn't even talk about Big Goon. He's a Charger. If anyone didn't know that
Yes.
yet, he's a Charger. Wish him the best. He got paid out there.
Good for
Two
that man.
years, 2 years, 17 million with 2 million in incentives, so he could almost make 20 million in 2 years. That's good for him. And
And that
obviously, Michael Pierce is the replacement there.
which I'm okay with.
And the only thing I'm questioning though is I know Shamar Stephen's still on the team. So are they just going to play next to each other, or are they going to rotate? Because Stephen was, like, to put it frankly,
Yeah,
awful.
you're right. No. And
He didn't even move anybody when there was a double team. He just kind of stood there. Pierce doesn't even give up ground when there's a double team, and then he
yeah,
can
and
pass rush.
how many downs do you think Michael Pierce can play? You think he's a
He's been a starter
no? Yeah,
every year, and he's made for a 4-3, and he was in a 3-4.
that's fair. But
He's made to be a dominant nose.
do you think we can get it done with what we have though, or do you think that we would maybe possibly go draft and draft a young one?
You know how I feel about Javon Kinlaw.
No, I know how you feel about him. I'm just saying, like, Michael Pierce is only 27, so not that he's getting like that old or anything, but to be able to pair somebody up next to him would be really nice. Even if he did have to sit behind Stefan for a year, like, you know how I am with this team. I'm always looking to the future. We haven't been good for how long? All I want is a Super Bowl. So if it takes another year or two because we're stockpiling and training and getting right, I'm all right with that, I guess.
And that's cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Me too. And I was joking around on Twitter earlier about, like, youth movement and how the team's going to look different. Like, there's been a lot of Vikings fans asking for this, like the overhaul. It's time to get rid of people, but they're doing it in a weird way.
I was going to say it's not happening the way we thought it was going to happen.
If they wouldn't have extended Cousins, I would have been like, okay, a lot besides Klein, a lot of this makes sense. Right. But then there could be a big splash coming that they're working on. There could be nothing, and this is just weird. I don't know. That's the beauty of the offseason. It's just exciting. You never know.
That's why these guys have the jobs that they have. So
yeah.
We'll see if we can do their job better or not coming up soon.
Yeah, and I think that's about all we have to talk about for free agency. I mean, at this time, in 25 minutes after we're already done recording, we can see
there's
going to
be another bomb.
Yeah, so we waited until the last moment to record this, the night before, just because we wanted to get everything in here. And who knows, this could be Friday or Saturday and you're listening, and we could be having a whole different
Anthony
situation.
Harris could be gone.
Harris could be gone. Cousins could be gone. Who knows? So that's going to be about all we got. And so now I'm going to bring in Jordan Reed, and me and him are going to talk draft and stuff. And you guys will hear where we were right, where we were wrong. And then Jordan's got some good draft tidbits for the Vikings and players to look for and names to look for. What's up, Jordan? How you doing today, man?
Good, man. Pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Glad to have you on the show. So how you feel about some of the moves the Vikings have made this morning? This is Monday morning for anyone listening. Monday, what is today, the 16th?
It's been pretty interesting for the most part. I think Xavier Rhodes was one move that was pretty much predictable for the most part, but it's just weird seeing them part with guys that have been such a huge part of the nucleus for so long. So Xavier definitely was one that was pretty predictable. I think that one that kind of surprised a lot of people was Linval Joseph. A lot of people, even though he did decline last year, a lot of people thought they probably were going to restructure his deal for the most part. But it was a bit of a surprise to some to see him get cut. And then the Kirk Cousins extension, I think that kind of caught a lot of people by surprise as well. But it's been reported that it's been going to happen. It's going to happen here for the last few weeks or so, just because they need to find a way to lower his cap number, just because they want to resign some guys like Anthony Harris, who they slapped the franchise tag on. And then they have some other free agents that they might want to bring back as well, and Mackenzie Alexander. And then we'll see what happens with Trey Waynes and Stephen Weatherly as well.
Was that a surprise to you that they put the franchise tag on Harris?
Yeah, it was. It's something that I haven't heard about at all. I thought he was going to be gone for the most part just because it's pretty hard to pay both him and Harrison Smith so much just because they're both going to
Right.
command together over $20 million. So that was a bit of a surprise to me.
Well, with that being said, do you think that he's like a tag and trade, someone that could be tagged and traded, or do you think that they're just going to lock him up then?
I don't think so. The Vikings are known as a team whenever they slap the franchise tag on somebody, they usually do it as like a smooth transition in order to figure out the long-term deal. They're not going to let them play on the tag. Chad Greenway was a great example of it in 2011, even though it was a prior regime. But Anthony Harris is a guy that's a homegrown talent, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they end up reaching a long-term extension with him here in the next few weeks.
Now, personally, I don't think they'll bring Waynes back, and I think Alexander's the best option because he's your nickel guy. So would you kind of pencil in corner in the first round at this point?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair to say. And I know Vikings fans are really tired of cornerbacks going in the first round, but I mean, it's Mike Zimmer's forte. It's what really is the nucleus of his defense. So, and this is a great class to pick a cornerback in the first round if that's what they want to do.
And I know you're big on Jeff Gladney. Do you think he'll be gone before 25? Because what I'm kind of seeing in a lot of these bigger name mock drafts is Gladney's been gone before 25.
It just depends on how the knee checks out. He played with a torn meniscus for the most part of last year, so there's going to be some concerns about his medicals and then how early he's going to be able to play as a rookie. So it just depends on how comfortable teams are with the medicals. Now, is he worth the 25th overall pick? Absolutely. I think of any cornerback in this draft, he's probably the one that exemplifies what Mike Zimmer looks for the most in his cornerbacks, even though he's a little bit on the shorter side. He's about Mike Hughes' size, about 5'10", around 195 pounds or 200-pound range, I think. He's sitting at right now. So he's a little bit on the smaller side, but as far as the nastiness that he displays as a tackler and then how sticky he is in man coverage, I think he's
Yeah,
everything that Zimmer wants.
most definitely. So then, would you be comfortable rolling into camp then with Hughes and Gladney as your starting corners?
Yeah, I think I would, even though there's going to be a bit of a growth period with them just because we've seen with Trey Wayne, Xavier Rhodes, and then Mike Hughes in years past, there's going to be some growing pains with cornerbacks, especially in Mike Zimmer's defense, just because there's so many responsibilities for those guys, and then they're trying to figure out how to play the position on the next level as well. So I would be comfortable with those two, but I think they need to sign a veteran as well.
Uh, that was my next question for you then. If there's some veterans out there that aren't too expensive, you got your Byron Jones and Roby's off the market now, but do you have a name or two that you think Zimmer will be looking for as a veteran? Like
I
one?
haven't. I actually haven't scoured the whole veteran free agent market. Honestly, I've been so knee deep in draft stuff. So I'm sure there's some like a Jonathan Joseph or somebody like
Yeah.
that has previous ties with Zimmer. I'm sure there's somebody that they'll have interest in.
I'll dip back into your forte a little more then. Go to the other side of the ball. I saw some, not really rumors, but suggestions that a receiver the Vikings could go for, or a couple, would be like Demaryius Thomas or Brashad Perryman. You think that would be like a legit wide receiver 3 for this offense? Either of those two?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And BC Johnson came along really nice for the offense last year, but I think he is what he is, and that's not to say that he can't get better, but I just don't think he has the upside to some of the players that we have seen in years past, like a Diggs or a Thielen. I don't think his peak is ever going to be that high. I think it's more of a wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 role. But if you want that guy that can take the top off the defense, I think Brashad Perryman is definitely one guy that really figured it out last year after having stops with Cleveland and then in Tampa Bay. He really figured it out last year. So if you're looking for that roof stretcher that can take the top off the defense and open up some underneath things for Diggs and Thielen and also BC Johnson, I think Perryman would really be a good candidate for that wide receiver 3 spot.
He wouldn't be too expensive either, would he?
No, he wouldn't.
And uh, I'm kind of assuming that they're going to sign a receiver, a veteran like that. But I'd also I'm not going to pencil it in, but they have 4 picks on the first 2 days, so I'd like to think that they'll try and snag a receiver in the first 3 rounds. Do you have any receivers that you think would be a good fit for the Vikings, or someone that they would look for?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think they find interesting. I think Michael Pittman Jr. from USC is one guy that they will take to a liking a lot. I like what he brings to the table. Has NFL DNA. He plays above the rim. And I think his skill set is something that they don't currently have on the roster. They don't have that big body guy that likes to get nasty. in the underneath areas, but can also win down the field as well. So I think he definitely could be an option.
Oh, see, I was going to say throwing shade at Treadwell, but then you said get open down the field, so never mind. A name I had that I would think would be, I don't know if he'll be there on day 3, but KJ Hill from Ohio State.
Yeah,
he has that like Stephon Diggs out of Maryland, like quick twitch too. I won't say he's Diggs, but he has that raw quick twitch talent. Like that's who I got. That's my guy.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I don't want to say a fair comparison. I don't think his upside is as great as what Diggs does bring to the table, but as far as somebody that understands how to get open, he definitely does do that. And just watching him down at the Senior Bowl, he was absolutely terrific. And we know how mature those Ohio State receivers are coming into the league. And then the great thing about KJ is that he's been on every single special teams unit as well. So he's wearing all these different hats. He's not just playing receiver. He can also find himself early on the field early in a key role in special teams as well.
Oh, they should be high on him then.
Definitely.
That's great. Do you think that since they just extended Kirk, I know it was kind of to relieve some cap space and get rid of, I don't know if it was to get rid of the no trade clause, but they did. But do you think that means we might be seeing Dalvin Cook for the last time this year?
We'll see.
And purple.
And, paying running backs is really a slippery slope nowadays just because of all the big deals that these running backs have signed in years past. Todd Gurley is a great example. Devontae Freeman, who we just saw cut here today, and then some others as well. It just hasn't worked out for any team. And we'll see what does happen with Dalvin Cook. Now, if it were up to me, I probably would franchise tag him one more year and then probably would let him go after that just because with the cap situation that the team is in, it's just not smart for them to pay a running back right now.
Yep, I'm with you. And last question for you. This one's not even Vikings related. This is for you as the former quarterback. What kind of defensive scheme did you absolutely hate playing against?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there was this defensive scheme called the 3-3-5, and it was absolutely hell to go against just because every gap is maintained. It's not very common, and it's so hard to throw against just because there's 5 defensive backs in the backfield, but it always looks like 8 guys is back there just because there's 8 guys that seem to always be in coverage. And it's a bit different than the 4-3 defense where it's normally just, 7 guys on the back end. But it just always seems to be that extra guy in a 3-3-5, and it's really hard to locate him. Sometimes that extra guy blitzes or sometimes he drops in cover. So definitely 3-3-5 was a headache to deal with.
That's a good point. I guess I didn't really think about that. You'd be under center and you'd see how many guys coming at you, how many guys are DBs. Yeah, are there any teams right now running that?
Not that I know of. Not running 3-3-5.
No, I got you. All right, man. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate this. Some good Vikings insight from Jordan. His Twitter is jreednfl. If you're listening, you guys know who Jordan is. But all right, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll definitely try and get you on here again next, probably mid-season or something like that, and see how you're feeling about the Vikings.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, man. Thanks, bro.